So I really appreciate your comments. I think it's been very insightful, and I appreciate your tone. So to your point about us putting out information, I hope you see, that was one of the main reasons that we had this meeting, all right? So, you know, we have been contacted by a member of the community, and we said, you know what? We have, you know, we think we're being transparent because we're having these meetings. But truth be told, you know, there's always something more fun to do than come to one of our board meetings, so nobody seems to know what we're doing, and then there's this concern that the information's not getting out. So that was one of the main reasons we wanted to try to put that information out, because we're, you know, I appreciate you, you know, not thinking that we're trying to do something sinister. I mean, the people here, you know, we're doing this because we're trying to do what's in the best interest of everyone. With regard to your point, though, about it going on in perpetuity, you sound like a very educated guy, and I think that there is some research. It's not really within the purview. I mean, the documents, I mean, they say what they say, and they don't really they don't specify an end date, and they don't really explain a process to do something different with. But I'm sure you can, you know, it's not really for us, is I guess what I'm saying, to try to put an end to it.
Well, I think that, I mean, if you're willing to let me engage further, I think you have to work with your community, and again, looking at how many other Melrose districts out there, how many other districts use Fund 49, for example. I mean, those numbers are out there and can be found. The community has an antidote to that. I agree with you. It doesn't say that there is an end date, but we have the ability to recall, go through and put an end to it, and we leave you, you know, kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You might be in the middle of doing things that would otherwise potentially harm the district. So I think that there's a give and a take here, and I think that certainly members of the Serrano, as we're the lion's share of the CFD payers, are starting to have that discussion about, well, there's 3 boards in there, you know, Buckeye purportedly is further along in their process, and whether the high school district needs another high school in Lower Serrano or Placerville, you know, all those discussions aren't at the crux of the issue. And that is the end date and procuring an end date, and then this is how much you're going to have to spend, instead of what looks like now, not a quantifiable number, therefore you're not sensitive to what the total interest will pay on. I mean, I'm seeing $3 million being spent on land, and then $3 million in interest being, you know, accrued. That in my mind isn't the most ideal use of the tax dollars. I realize that's how it ends up working out. So I think that makes you more sensitive when you know this is the ultimate amount of money you're going to get from this revenue stream. And I think that it makes us more sensitive to the fact that if that's all you're going to get, you know, how you're going to use it. You know, and again, I don't want to overstate the position here. I just would like you to be sensitive to our perception is it could go on in perpetuity, because, I mean, you're citing a couple of line items that the other 2 districts probably cite as well. You know, we have the authority to construct anything we need to. It's the last line item on there that would service anybody that's associated with the CFD, anywhere in the territory. I mean, that's pretty wide open.
And tag on real quick, Shan's comment. So, thank you, and I kind of wanted to go back to what Ms. Fenster said also, because I think that in saying it in a different manner, but we do realize that, as Kim said, that communication, we don't want to appear, you know, that there are shady issues, et cetera, and that we're doing things to try not to be above board, because it is our goal, all of us here, is to serve in our capacity as board members, to do the best job for our students and our families. So, as Kim said, the communication message, and obviously in working together, getting information out, and that 2 other things that I just kind of want to tag on to that, which is we recognize that it is difficult sometimes that you have to deal with 3 different boards. All of us, and being parents and ourselves, and sadly we often have meetings the same evenings, and that is just unfortunately how the school districts were formed here at whatever time that they were formed, and there has never been a unified. In many other areas you might see a K-12 unified school district, and so it makes it a little cleaner perhaps that you have one list of everything. So that duplication unfortunately is what it is in that sense, and we don't always have the ability to operate, we don't operate as one, and so it is difficult. Like I said, you know, with Pleasant Grove, that school was cited hoping that we'd have a high school adjacent, and be able to offer a lot of different opportunities to students to perhaps take accelerated programs. And, you know, you try to always, it's always kind of like, you know, trying to catch that brass ring a little bit, like, are we doing the right thing? And so we project and we do, you know, and that's what makes it difficult, I think, sometimes to know when will the NBD be. We do boundary studies every year, and we try to get the best information possible. As you know, if you've worked with the county, sometimes garbage in, garbage out. You know, when we have someone working with us on a boundary study or on population growth studies, we're basing it on what the county is giving us in terms of future developments. That may or may not be accurate. You know, I can give you some on the east end of the district that continually show up in huge numbers of homes. They're never gonna be built. That property's not even owned by a developer any longer, it's owned by a conservancy. So the information sometimes even that we deal with is not always crystal clear, and it makes it difficult to do our job kind of with the restrictions and parameters that we have around it. So we hear that loud and clear, and I think that we're working toward that way, definitely getting a clear message and that out there. And I do want to say, and I think we do always operate with that tenet that we're trying to do what is in the best interest of all of our taxpayers. I mean, we are all taxpayers also, so no one wants to pay more tax than need be. So it is just sometimes trying to know when we're putting that out there is to start educated. And I think along with that, I'd just like to issue that invitation in that, as some of us have in the past participated on task force, as I mentioned earlier, Ellen and myself on the middle school task force many years ago, we always welcome parent participation. David has a parent LCAP group that works with him, a group of parents who work in putting together our LCAP for our curriculum in that. We've had a facilities group in the past, we haven't for some time. Perhaps it's time to resurrect that, but we do always want to invite and engage parents to participate in the process. And those kinds of things, you know, as we get them out, should be in your school site websites as well as in the district website in that too. So there are opportunities. We always welcome parent engagement, because the more heads put together, I think always the better that it is, so.
You know, just listening, just listening. This is gonna sound really juvenile, but I know that when decisions were made then, we make the best decisions at that time. So I'm glad that you were able to put down chronologically history. So now that it is out there, someone 20 years from now that questions it, at least it'll be out there. So I'm glad to have that too.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Getz, because I do really think you've helped us understand a perspective that without this conversation, we wouldn't understand. And this whole idea about the open-endedness of it, the open timeline, and the potential for 3 entities spending money on an open-ended way without identifying projects, making the taxpayers feel like this goes forever and it's open-ended and nobody's really controlling the centralized, who's planning the projects. I do understand that concern better tonight than I ever have, and I really do appreciate your tone and the way you articulated that. I think we need to really do a deeper look at this about how the taxpayers feel about this, because again, we have a board that wants to do the best they can for our students and for our community, and they're up here trying to do the best they can. They don't always see every point of view, so I just really appreciate your openness and your articulation about that.
Thank you for the
Helps us
opportunity.
understand.
And that really goes back to my point in the very beginning, is that we are elected to be the stewards of the district and to advocate for the students. And in doing so, we have to deal with finances, et cetera. I shouldn't say have to, we do, but it's, the kids come first. Hearing from the community is essential, and we try. One of I've been on this board 14 years, and one of the main pieces of conversation that has continually been is communication. How do we communicate better? How do we receive communication better? And we've got a great website now. We try doing all those kind of social media contact points. We post meetings, and we get 4 people show up. And so it's always been a big frustration to me as a board member that we are tasked with such huge decisions and such important, critical decisions for your tax dollars, your children, all of the things that we are responsible for. So if we don't hear from those people who are being directly affected until later after something's happened, and then we get the disappointments or the criticisms or whatever information might come to us, we want that too, but we also want to hear it up front. And what you have shared with us tonight might help our future progress in this area be more clear, more articulate, maybe more transparent, excuse me. But every bit of information that we get from the community is gonna help us do our job better, and then that's gonna turn back around to the rest of you. So please know that this is important. This is the kind of meeting we like to have, because we wanna know what you're thinking. We can't guess. So, anyone have any? Is there anything else? Anyone who has not yet spoken would like to share their thoughts with us tonight? Okay, well, if that's the case, we will go forward. We're gonna collect more information pursuant to issues you raised, pursuant to issues you raised. We're going to see what's missing from the big picture that we have, go forward with clarification, and again, we will have the hearing on the 10th with regards specifically to the Sand Ridge property. So feel free to attend and share your thoughts.